Welcome back. This is Every Woman on AtikuLive. And before we went on the break, we were talking about the Vapp Act with our guest here, Dr. Charity, and she has been doing an amazing job here in the studio. Thank you so much. But before we went on the break, I was going to ask this question. I mean, we're even having a discussion while we're on break, and Ajay was talking about others having roles to play in making sure that Nigeria actually works, because it's not a one person's duty.
Absolutely.
It's our duty as Nigerians. We're all citizens. And that brings me to this question. Aside from the government at the state and federal level, what significant roles can others play in making sure that the Vapp Act is being domesticated and signed across the states in Nigeria?
We all have our roles to play. If you are not affected by violence, you are infected by it. Somehow, whoever is a victim or survivor affects you. So it's not something that you keep saying, it's not close to me. We all have our roles to play. And that is why when you talk about stakeholders, you come to the community level, opinion shapers, traditional rulers, faith-based organizations. Their voices are sacrosanct. It goes down, it trickles down. Women groups, men groups, traders, everyone has a role. If you look at those laws, 27 of them, somehow you have been affected by one or the other. So we all have our roles to play. Unfortunately, we leave it to international organizations who have bring in fundings, and they help in sensitizing, in disseminating, in gazetting these laws and things like that. No, it wasn't end there. And even as a neighbor, I don't know if it was NOA that says, if you see something, you say something. So we all have our roles to play. Nobody is alienated from this. If it has not happened to you, what makes you think it won't happen to your daughter? What makes you think it will not happen to your son? Most men today had their first experiences by subtle abuse by much older women that lured them. 10% of the men we have today. And do you know sometimes how it translates into their attitude towards the women? 1 out of 4 girls has been abused. And the 5% have maintained the culture of silence. Somehow a neighbor knew about it. Somehow a parent knew about it. So it is not a government thing. The role of government won't come to your house. The role of government is to ensure that when these cases are reported, there's a machinery on ground to respond. And that is why the Vapp law is there. The Vapp will not come and make the reports, but the Vapp will ensure that they contain the reports by ensuring that justice is brought to book. Whoever has been abused is compensated, not just financially, but emotionally, mentally. There's some form of therapy. That person is moved to a safe space where they can, get redressed and integrate back to the society. And whoever has perpetrated this crime is punished to serve as a deterrent. And that is where I actually have an issue, because I have not actually seen, whatever has been stated in the Vapp as punishment. I'm not really satisfied with the punishment being meted on offenders. So there is a role that we all have to play. And even in the area of justice, we have to, the advocacy doesn't stop with pass the law and assent it, but let it be implemented. Let there be courts that are accessible to the common citizen. We may not have these cases in urban areas where we stay in our estates, but what of in the villages? Do you know these cases still exist? Yes. 27 of them. A man leaves his family and just goes and starts another family. No food, no water, nothing. Do you know it is a crime under Vapp? Use of harmful substances. It is a crime. There are still some communities where they have female genital mutilation.
Yes, I mean, it's moved from 16.9 to 19.2.
Exactly. So women are still being circumcised. There are still some cases where a woman is widowed and they shave her hair. She's forced to drink the water of her husband's.
I even saw that on social media recently.
Yes, just a 23-year-old. Her hair was shaved against her will, that it is the culture. Now, even the shaving of the hair can still grow. But what if something drink the water of the corpse of your husband? There's still political violence. There's still, frustrating the course of the law. It is a crime. All these are crimes. So what is happening? So we all have our roles to play. It is not a government is just responding, but all of us as citizens, we have to open our eyes and lend our voices to ensure that where there is violence, we speak out and we ensure, we stand our grounds to ensure that justice is meted out. Yes.
Okay, so I would like to look at a specific law, and I'll look at this from the aspect of the media. Of course, we know that media influences, people's perceptions and decisions. And with the advent of social media, a lot of people feel like they have the right to just come online and say whatever they want. And we see a provision in this Vapp Act that says that if you aid or abet or counsel somebody to be violent, that it is an offense that is punishable by the law. And we've seen this over and over again. We see people come online and say things, and somebody comes out and says, if it was me, this is what I would have done to my wife. I would have beat her, I would have done this, I would have done this. Isn't this captured in this act? Can't we begin to see people being prosecuted for actually counseling people, along this line?
I like this point you made. When Osinachi, that singer, died, someone very close to me put it on Facebook that if they investigate this thing, the wife would have been rude, something, slap, and all that. I went straight to his box, to the comment section, and I said that there's a law. There's a Vapp law. Be very careful with your utterances. Because if it is seen that you are inciting this kind of violence, you will be arrested. I said it on his comment section. He brought the comment down. So beyond physical, this kind of thing, you can imagine on Facebook where an opinion is being shaped on that platform. Several youth that are doing nothing, that are vulnerable, are on those platforms. And when they start hearing and seeing things like that, it forms an opinion for them. And they see it as positive. They see it as something they can do. So even on social media, I think even Facebook is doing some sanctioning and blocking, but it is not enough. I think there should be something put on ground so that all these kind of comments can be followed up and such persons be investigated.
I mean, so I can actually report somebody who has made such comments.
I was the one. It wasn't someone else. I was the one that went to, because he's my relation.
But if the person doesn't take it down, can I take this to court and argue that this is in violation of the Vapp Act?
Yes, if it is sustained. There are some things that it's over and over on someone's box. They say they are promoting violence. Right? There's that word they use now. And they keep going. Comrades, and they keep going on the negative side of the law. They keep inciting violence. They keep saying things that do not align with the laws of the land and ensuring that their negative opinion shapers. I think such persons should be followed up and investigated. It's our duty as citizens. If they do not have such police on social media, then we are supposed to do it, because before you know it, it becomes an attitude, and a movement starts from very little. It starts a movement that may turn to a wildfire that may not be easily contained.
It shows them that it's okay to do things like
and
this.
Lives will be lost in the process just by a comment that formed a movement, and people form movements. When a lot of people start listening, this thing is true. We are Africans. Like recently they said Queen Elizabeth had stolen the treasures of Africans. It was beginning to form a movement.
Yes.
Little things. So we need to be careful with our words, especially on social media. Yes.
So don't you think in under the Vapp Act and under the SAC, right?
Yes.
Don't you think there should be machineries put in place or field police, basically, spread across all social medias to make sure that there is some sort of streamline in terms of utterances? Because I mean, like we said, we need to create more awareness about the Vapp Act, and you knew about it.
Yes.
And I'm sure there were a lot of people who saw that post that he posted and didn't know there's actually an act to fight against
I think
stuff like
it should be included, like maybe in our social media bill,
guidelines and all of that.
We have a social media bill, so I think it should also guide the way, a bill sort of to guide the way that we use social media, because I think it's been grossly misused.
One thing with laws is that laws are not one-sided. As much as you are making a law, there should be structure put in place to punish offenders. Now, what control do we have over Facebook?
Social media.
Should be able to ban some accounts.
I think Social media even does a good job by banning some people and blocking them for a period of time. But I wish we would be able to influence such from our own end. I am not an IT savvy person, but maybe there may be some bigger structure put in place to be able to sift out such comments automatically from the platforms.
But is it enough to ban these people? Is it enough to shut down
But
their
even
accounts?
to follow them up, there are some people that I know in the past, people make some statements and they are followed up and they are questioned in the police stations.
Yes.
Why are you making this kind of comments? And then an eye is put on them, and to curtail them. I think it is timely, especially at this time that we have elections coming in the next 6 months, and where a movement is being formed by some people who are saying it is a do or die affair, that their candidate wins an election. And whoever, it is so bad, the kind of hate speech, politics of calumny, mudslinging, it is going to be a very negative movement if it is not curtailed. And this is the time that the media has a role to play. The National Orientation Agency has a role to play. Politics without bitterness. Peaceful politics. And the police should be on their toes. Any gathering that is not peaceful, there should be some sort of restrictions.
Yeah, because we can see some of this violence transcend from social media.
From social media, because before you know it, they start meeting physically.
Yes.
If it were just social media, it wouldn't have been a problem. But they now start meeting physically. And before you know it, they become a nuisance in the town and disturbing peaceful existence of people. So there should be some things put in place to at least curb the excesses of our utterances, curb the excesses of our attitudes and dispositions.
I mean, in line with what you were saying, like this is like going to be like the last question because we're running out of time.
Yes.
So in line with what you were saying, what is expected of the incoming government? I mean, to make sure that these laws are being adhered to strictly. What are we expecting and enforced? What are we expecting from the incoming government? Because we can't leave it out of it. We said elections are just 6 months away.
Yes.
What is expected of the incoming government?
The incoming government has a role to ensure, number one, that the law is domesticated in all the states in Nigeria. What makes the Vapp different is that, number one, it does not refer to only women. Men are included.
Yes.
Something like rape. People think rape is just the penetration of the penis.
Oh.
But even if it is through an object, through the mouth, through the anus, or anywhere, it is called rape. Number two, the Vapp is the only GBV law that has a compensation plan for survivors. The Vapp is the only law that factors in harmful traditional practices. The Vapp is the only law that is evolved and factors in anything that constitutes violence. It is not so with other laws. All the customs, all the patriarchal practices are factored in, and where it does not reflect the best interest of a citizen, it becomes a law. 27 of them. It affects everything. If we have that law put in place, just as you said before when the show started, Nigeria is seen as the least safe place for women and children to exist. If you cannot exist peacefully, can you develop and thrive as a person? So if it is domesticated by all the states, then there must be policies put in place, safe spaces. There must be budgets to have state policies, to have juvenile courts, to have justice accessible by everyone in the rural areas. There should be places they can run to and report. There should be healthcare centers that can easily respond to these things. If things are put in place by policy, and not just policy, by budget. Money is needed to make this law work, because new people will be employed. New things would have to be put in place. There must be money, and just as we said before now, there must be power, there must be light. You cannot be doing things in darkness. Everything must work. There must be employment, because sometimes being idle, during COVID-19 that we were all at home, you saw what happened. In Adamawa, from 4%, 400, it entered over 1,000. Violence, domestic violence. When people are idle and not doing anything, they start having thoughts. And just as we said, transformation comes with the renewal of the mind. The mind can only be renewed when something engages it positively. So we need commitment of the government, political will of the government, an environment that encourages safe coexistence or peaceful coexistence of a man knowing that I'm the head of the home, as it were, and I have to protect my wife and my children. The boys seeing the girls as partners in development and as friends. A parent seeing a child as his responsibility to groom the child. A man seeing his wife as his wife and not an instrument to be beaten up. A girl is moving around and we have the right things to tell our children, our girls. And the fact that a girl is not well dressed does not mean you as a boy should abuse her. If we have things in place, it is easy to obey the law when things are in place. So my call on the incoming government, whoever it is to ensure that we bring voices to the table. And that is the voice of the women, to bring up this conversation. We cannot develop when there is no peace. True. And there can be no peace when the rights of certain percentage of the citizenry is abused and exploited.
True.
So that's
true. Very true. Thank you so much. I agree totally with what you said. And it's been a beautiful time on the show. We first spent our time. But I'm sure everybody watching had learned one or two things from what we've said. Or not even more than one or two things. You've learned a lot because, I mean, this is more like an eye-opener. An eye-opener for everyone watching there. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us on today's episode. Please do well to always send us what you think, your suggestions, your comments, and your recommendations to the social media handles that will be displayed right now on your screen. Until we see you same time tomorrow, by David Award Basi. And a big thank you to our guest, Dr. Charity. Thank you for always coming through, and thank you for always sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, so I see you guys tomorrow, comrades. No violence.
No violence.
No violence, comrades.
No violence,
please.
yeah, please.
I'll see you all tomorrow. My name is still Ijoma Odumodu.
Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Well.
The incoming president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Alhaji Atiku
It's time for us to bridge gaps. It is time for us to speak as one.
Our candidate is the unifier. He will unify Nigeria.
It is doable, it is achievable, we can do it, we have the capacity to do it, we have done it before. So it is time for us to return PDP back to power. I thank you very much. God bless you all. PDP! PDP!
As one, we can get it done.